They said Bill Clinton was the first black president. So is Barack Obama the first Muslim president? Frank Gaffney, the founder of the Center for Security Policy in Washington, D.C., is here today to give us this answer. I'm Anne-Marie.
I'm Sunny.
I'm Morgan.
I'm Gina.
And we're going to have the answer to that and more with Frank Gaffney on today's episode of
PolitiChicks.
In a June 9, 2009 Washington Times column, Gaffney wrote, with Mr. Obama's unbelievably ballyhooed address in Cairo to what he calls the Muslim world, there is mounting evidence that the president not only identifies with Muslims, but actually may still be one himself. Frank Gaffney.
Wow.
Nobody says that out loud. We think it, people insinuate it, but you kind of go right there, don't you?
I think you have to when you see the kind of behavior that he's engaging in. And I set the piece up by saying, you know, if Bill Clinton, as you mentioned, could be called America's first black president, Barack Obama has to be considered our first Muslim president because he's engaged in the same kind of, you know, sort of special interest pandering and identity politics as Clinton did with the black community. And whether he's actually still imbued with the traditions of the faith in which he was brought up, the faith of his father, who he, you know, admires so much, and his stepfather for that matter, and others who have been influential figures in his world prior to political life, and most importantly, and this is a subject of a new course we've just unveiled, you look at the people that he is allowing to influence his administration. These aren't just Muslims. These are Muslim brothers, and that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Doesn't it seem to you, Frank, that this has advanced at a rapid pace since Barack Obama has been president? We're hearing so much more about the Muslim Brotherhood and about how they've infiltrated, and even up in Michigan where there's schools and they take prayer breaks, and everything is starting to be catered more to Sharia and the Muslim culture. Why is this not getting more attention? Why are people so frightened to talk about it?
Well, let me just mention, because you've used the key word, I think, and that is Sharia. That's fundamentally what's at work here. There are Muslims who adhere to this totalitarian, supremacist, brutally anti-women, anti-homosexual, and so on, doctrine they call Sharia. And then there are Muslims who don't. And the ones that do are the problem, and they are very much, I think, feeling as though they're on a roll. That what's happening in part, coming back to the first question, thanks to the kind of help they've been getting from the Obama administration, their star is rising, and not just in the Middle East, not just in Europe, not just in Latin America.
Here, in this country.
Here in this country.
That's the frightening thing.
And what I think is going on in terms of why we're not hearing more people resonating to this or trying to react and counter it is, it's scary. It is frightening, as you say, and that's not by accident. That's by design. They're all about scaring you into submission.
And a lot of the conversations that I have is that they don't take it seriously. If you were to bring up, and you know, well, Sharia is going to creep in. Oh, it's that, you know, it's like Americans don't understand that whether you take it seriously or not, they take it very seriously. And that needs to be the message that we get across. So how do we get that message across more to make them understand that you might think that it's a joke, but they're looking at it as their modus operandi. That's their MO.
Well, this is really the point of this course that we've done. It's a 10-part video sort of PowerPoint presentation that's web accessible at muslimbrotherhoodinamerica.com. And the whole point behind it is just to give people the basic facts as to what Sharia is, what the Muslim Brotherhood is about, not just someplace else but here, the stealth jihad that they're waging in anticipation of getting to the point where they can do a violent one, and the degree to which, under successive administrations, not just, unfortunately, Barack Obama's, but George W. Bush to a very considerable degree, and even before that, Bill Clinton, our own government has been penetrated and certainly subverted by these influence operations. So I think the first step is to give people information. Let them understand what's going on, and then work with them, give them specific things to do, and that's our purpose.
There's so many things. How do we get people to wake up, other than a 9/11 that happens when people suddenly start to pay attention? It seems to me like people zone out, they glaze over, they don't. You know, they want to go. They do, and I know how serious this is by listening to you, by hearing you talk, everything, and it's like people need to know this is serious. When it's infiltrating the schools, they're starting to indoctrinate the young people. Once you start to do that, that's a snowball effect, and it's going to just snowball, and pretty soon. What do we do? Well, then where are we?
This is the point of the course, is to sort of show you how it is getting into places like our schools, into our churches, amazingly, into our capital markets, as well as, of course, our government. The kinds of concessions that are being made. Some of them are, time off for prayers. Some of them, the Justice Department intervenes to make sure a teacher can go do the Hajj, a couple of months after getting her job. I mean, these are the sorts of things that I think when you start connecting the dots, the picture jumps out at you. And I'm hoping that, especially as people, like yourselves, start amplifying what's going on and have resources like this course that can help people both understand it, see it in their own communities, and give them some specific suggestions about what they can do to try to remedy it. We'll see them get engaged without another 9/11. I figure one is enough, don't you?
Exactly. Isn't the narrative so important on this? And I guess for conservatives who are looking at taking your course, what can they know that they're going to walk away with in terms of a narrative? People don't know, when you just have that 5-minute elevator speech, do you point out that he doesn't travel with Michelle to many of the Muslim countries? Do you what exactly do you point out in the elevator speech, and is this sort of what people will walk away from after your course?
Great question. I think in part you tailor it to your audience. To conservatives, I feel constrained to say one of the reasons we're in the fix we are is because a prominent conservative by the name of Grover Norquist has been enabling a lot of this penetration and influence operation, particularly in the previous administration. For Democrats, maybe that's going to be red meat. Hopefully for Republicans and conservatives, it'll be a call to corrective action. I think the most important thing is to tell people that this Sharia business, it may sound crazy, and it certainly seems unlikely that a nation of 300 million people could possibly succumb to this kind of doctrine that's, women hating and, brutally repressive of other faiths and of homosexuals and apostates and other living beings, But the trouble is, history is replete with examples of small numbers of disciplined, ruthless people imposing their will on everybody else. And I come down to this. If you understand what Sharia is, that it's really fundamentally about power, not about faith, then we stop treating it like it's a protected right of religion. And that it's really fundamentally about seditious activity to overthrow our government.
But how is it that the liberal left does not see Sharia and what it does to women and what it does to your how can they not see that? Homosexuals,
Jews,
how can
writers,
they not
artists,
see
singers.
What is it? Are they blind?
No, here's what's going on, and we really drill down on this a lot in the course because it's such an important component of what's going on here. The left is actually enabling this as much as Grover has been. Why? Well, the only explanation I can give you is they have a shared antipathy to this country. I mean, fundamentally, that's the point. They have a very different end state, obviously, but to the point that they can work in concert, and they are. You've got the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, at the forefront of efforts to insinuate Sharia into our courts and to prevent efforts to make American laws govern instead of Sharia.
We have to wake up. We have to wake up.
Frank, I was up until 2 in the morning watching your videos last night, and I'm telling you, ladies, it's scary. It's scary. We've got to wake up, and thank you so much for being here. We've got to have you on like like every episode.
So
walk us through this.
This is my idea of a good time. Thanks for doing it.
So thank you so much for being with us. Yeah, PolitiDude.
You'll take that the best possible way.
Yes.
So we're going to have to continue this, but thank you all for being here too. And keep watching PolitiChicks.tv, the right kind of PC.